All right, guys. So it is Wednesday. I'm going to be your host, Paul Alex, founder of merchantautomation.com. How's everybody doing tonight? We're going to dive into a very special lesson for you guys. I'm actually bringing one of my mentees who she is a professional consultant now with vending machines, but not any vending machines, guys. We're not talking about like, your snacks and your sodas. No, she actually has vending machines that vend those players cards, those sport athletes players cards that go for a lot of money, and she's been able to make a fortune on that, guys. So she's going to come on here and actually show you guys and explain exactly how she's doing it, and then she's going to tell you how you guys can find more information. She's a very, very, very nice lady. You guys are going to love her. She goes by the name of Linda. Let's go ahead and bring on our special guest. Linda, I see you in the back. All right, I'm pumped for you. Let's go ahead and get this started. So, guys, Linda is a mentee of mine on one of my other programs, and she is a remarkable entrepreneur. Not only does she have a killer podcast right now where she interviews some highly successful individuals, but she also runs a highly profitable vending machine business, guys. And the great part about this is she's from Australia. Something about, people that live in Australia and me, like we always connect. I have one of my best sales guys that's from Australia. Man, I knew he was going to be a winner, and he is. So here, let me introduce you to Linda. Linda, how are you?
Hi, guys. I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. So, Linda, thank you for being on. I'm going to go ahead and let you do your thing. And guys, if you have any questions, please drop it down in the comments. Linda will be able to go ahead and actually read your questions. And also what I'm going to do while Linda's doing her presentation for the next few minutes right now, guys, is I'm actually going to put her Instagram name so you guys can add her on Instagram. And then at the very end, I'll be able to drop a link where you can actually find Linda and obtain more information. Okay? All right, Linda, floor is yours.
Just want to share my story. So a little bit about me. My name is Linda Vo, and I'm from Sydney, Australia. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm the founder of Game Guys, which sells cards and collectibles. I've also got a podcast called Inspired by Success, where I, like Paul said, I interview entrepreneurs and CEOs and thought leaders and just unlock the secrets of success, basically. I love hearing stories about how entrepreneurs overcame challenges to become successful and build an empire. And today I'm going to be talking about my story, a little bit of background of who I am, how I became to be, and also give you guys tips on how to build a successful vending machine business. So I've got a vending machine business with 8 machines currently, and on average I make about 21 to 25k per month in sales. And I've only been in the vending machine business for less than a year, but I have been in the e-commerce business for 4 years. So I pivoted. So I'll tell a little bit about my story afterwards, and feel free to ask any questions. But just before, I'm going to go straight into my story so that you understand. So I came to Australia when I was 3 years old with my mum, single mum, 2 brothers, and we moved into a really bad, poor neighborhood and a lot of broken families. And so I grew up hanging around the wrong people, and eventually I got on drugs and I became a heroin addict, a high school dropout, and also a teen mum. Okay, so life wasn't great at the start, but I was a heroin addict for over 10 years and drug dealing on the streets. I had multiple guns at my face. People wanted to rob me. I've had knives. I've been dragged from a car because somebody tried to rob me as well. And so I also built an empire while I was a drug dealer. I had heaps of cash stashed away. I had runners, but I was also there was so many ups and downs in my life. I was even homeless at one stage. So it wasn't always rainbows, but there was a very chaotic life. And being a high school dropout as well, I didn't finish school. but I did learn from the streets, and that's where I get my hustle mentality. But then one day, it all came crashing down when I got arrested. I had an ounce in my pocket, and the police pulled me over, and I went to jail. And I was in prison for 18 months on remand, not knowing when I was going to get sentenced. And I think that's God's way of intervening, because he knew that wasn't the life for me. And so after many failed attempts trying to detox before I went to prison, this is the final time that I struggled, and it was painful, but it was meant to be, because I could not get off the drugs unless this is the only way that I could get off drugs. And so while I was in prison, I kept on praying to God and saying, please, God, don't let me get out until you know I'll never touch drugs again. And so God finally heard my prayers, and I got released, and I had to start from scratch with nothing to my name. I had no money left. I didn't have an education, and I had no support because my mum disowned me. She was too ashamed. And so I had to work my way up, and I studied. I went back to school. I went to TAFE. I eventually got a diploma in advertising, and I worked in hospitality and just slowly saved up, and then worked my way up, and eventually worked in corporate. So I ended up working in media, and I worked at companies such as Yahoo. I worked at another ad tech company called TubeMogul, which got acquired by Adobe. And I also worked at TikTok, which was my last role. That was a dream come true, because imagine, my life, nobody knew about my past, by the way. I was keeping it secret. But yeah, my dream job, I scored my dream job at TikTok, and I was earning 140 base salary at the time. Things were going great until all of a sudden COVID hit. And we all know what happened when COVID happened. So I was working 12-hour days, because I was in sales, by the way. So I was working 12-hour days with only half an hour breaks. And it was a struggle. Like, I was trying so hard, but I wasn't hitting my targets, and I wasn't doing well. And so one day my boss actually said to me, Linda, I think you're too technical, and I don't think you're the right fit for this role. It's going to be high pressure, and you've got a family, and I don't think this role is going to be suitable for you. So he eventually made me redundant. He gave me a few chances, but then eventually he made me redundant. And so, it was a huge shock, because he didn't believe in me, and I knew that, I worked so hard to get where to go so far, only to become redundant. It was really painful, and it was really stressful, because I had a family as well. And so the next day, instead of being miserable and depressed, which I could have laid in bed crying all day, I decided, you know what, I'm going to try to build something, and I'm going to try to prove my boss that it was a big mistake. And so, the reason why I ended up creating Game Guys is my partner sold one single Yu-Gi-Oh card for $600. And before that, I was always against people collecting. I'm like, why is he collecting its cardboard? I don't understand the value of it. But when he sold that card for $600, I thought, oh my gosh, this is an investment. There's a need, there's a demand for it. And so I decided to create a store, and I had no idea what I was doing, but I just spent the whole day researching and creating, and I created Game Guys. And, that was my e-commerce store. I had no idea what I was doing, but eventually I was doing drop shipping style advertising. So things were going good with Game Guys. My best month in sales was 65,000. So that was during COVID, because people were locked up in their houses, and they had nowhere to go but money to spend, and all that government cash. People ended up buying more. So things were going great with Game Guys at a period, especially in 2021, especially when the bull market was there. However, it all came crashing down, because I got myself into so much debt. I didn't have a mentor to guide me. I spent so much money on agencies. I bought too much stock, and eventually I was in debt. I was in $50,000 worth of debt. And so I didn't know what to do. There was a period in my time, there was a time when I just was so stressed out, couldn't sleep, losing so much hair, having fights with my partner, not knowing what to do because of so much debt. I tried to sell the business. No one wanted to buy it. But one day, I saw a competitor on Instagram and I saw a vending machine with trading cards, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's a great idea. So I decided, let's try this model. I cut off the ads and I decided to get my first vending machine. And that was up the road, the shopping center up the road. And I had no idea. If I had a mentor, it would have saved me so much time. But, I learned how to do all the technical setting up the machine. Lucky I've got the support down the road too. But it was a lot of trial and error and a lot of mistakes made. And eventually my partner said to me, slow down, learn as much as you can before you expand. Little did I know that vending machines were so profitable that my competitors, I've only got two main competitors, but they're from different states. They saw how profitable it was that they expanded into my state. When I told my partner, let's go expand some more vending machines, and he said, no, just slow down. So I should have listened to my gut, but that's a lesson learned. However, after that first machine, I got more machines, and eventually now I've got 8. 9 because one's not active, waiting for a location, but I've got 8. And so that's a little bit about my story. Now I'm going to share some tips in terms of how to start your own successful vending machine. And feel free to add any questions if you have any. Okay, so I've made so many fatal mistakes as well, and I've learned. So in order to have a successful vending machine business, you need to have location, you need to have the right product, consider the machine type and the payment type, and also consider scaling as well and how you're going to hire staff. But today, because there's so many different elements of it, I'm going to touch base on location, which is crucial. And as you guys, I don't know if you guys know, but with Paul, he always talks about location as well. Location. So how do I spot the perfect location? My best vending machine is only a small vending machine in a 24-hour shopping center. All my machines are in shopping centers, by the way. I sell cards and collectibles, but my best machine makes around 4K a month, and it does make 5K on school holidays. And it's only a small machine. I've got 3 different types of machines. I've got like a big micro market, which is like not cards. I've got a medium-sized machine, which has a fancy screen, and they've all got elevators. And then I've got a simple one too, because I found that it's not the machine type, it's the location that makes the sales. So the first thing I do, and what I would recommend if you guys wanted to start a vending machine business, is look for the perfect location, and do what I do, and consider having one close by to you so you can figure out the troubleshooting and the stocking and how often you need to monitor it, because you'll have there will be times where you have technical issues outside of your control, such as the card reader service as well. Now, if I was to start it, like when I expand to different machines, I actually do some research before I even consider the location. So one tool that I always go to is the demographics data. And so I look at whether or not it's the population, how the stats of how big the population is. Is it a densely populated area? Like, are there lots of units around, or is it a countryside where it's just developing and they're going to expand in a few years? For me personally, if you're going to invest in a vending machine, that's going to cost you at least for me, my machines, just the machine alone will start off at 6,000. You can get machines for around 4,000, or you can go secondhand and get cheaper. But because my machines are expensive and the stock to fill it is very expensive, I need to make sure that I get the best return on investment fast. I don't have time to waste on slowly developing areas. So I do the research, and I make sure that I look at the data, look at the age, if it's male or females, because my product is collectibles. There is a growing trend in females, but majority of it is males, and also kids. So I just make sure that you have the right product as well. And so I look at all the stats, and usually you could see these stats in the consensus data, and you can see, male like 50%, female, and medium wage, like average income, rent average income. So you look at those data and you reassess, because if there's another location, another suburb, make sure you compare, because like I said, the machines are very expensive. So you want to make sure that you're putting your machines in the most populated area that suits your demographic. Do a comparison. Okay. Do a foot traffic. Ideally, for me, I go to the locations, and especially on a weekday if I can and a weekend, just to sit there and have a look at the core audience. So one location, for example, I went to, there was a lot of old people around there, and that to me is not my ideal target audience. If you've got a product to suit old people, then go ahead by all means. But you look at the things to look at: economic factors. Is this suburb, are they investing into this suburb? Are they putting developments? Are they building shopping centers? Are they building and expanding it? Or is it dying down? And if it's a rundown location, you don't want to be there. Consider future planning as well. So, for example, if they're building an airport nearby, I wanted to get into the airport, but because it's 24 hours and they want certain criteria, retail big partners, I got rejected. But it didn't that didn't sway me, because after that, even if I got rejected, there's always going to be shopping centers nearby. So consider those things too. If one place says no, think about nearby as well. But don't give up. I also have a tracker when I do this, because my tracker keeps track of all the locations, the key people that I need to reach out to, whether or not I've reached out to them, and the notes as well, and whether it's secured. And once it's done, like once I've locked it in, it's green, it's done. So if you guys need a template for that, I can share that as well. Research development plans, like I mentioned. Look at employment rates as well and job types, because, if there's a high unemployment rate in the area, obviously you're not going to have that dispensable income to spend as well. So very, very important for that. Now, here are some high traffic locations that you should consider. There's so many opportunities with the vending machine, because we've got office buildings, schools and universities, hospitals and medical centers, shopping malls, gyms and fitness centers, hotels, apartment complexes, factories, train stations, and then you've even got the unconventional locations, co-working spaces, car dealerships, hair salons, laundromats, tourist attractions, sports venues, community centers, even golf courses. So you've got to be really creative, in terms of the location, but always think about your product. They marry together. And then factors to consider is, like I said, the foot traffic, demographics, competitors. Are there any competitors in the area as well? Because for me, the collectibles vending machine is pretty, and there's only 3 main ones in Australia. If my competitor is in a shopping centre, most of the times won't allow me to be. And some shopping centres don't even allow trading cards, because there's already like EB Games, for example, which is like GameStop, and so they don't want to compete. So you've got to consider that. Always have a backup, and don't take no for an answer. If they say no, not now, consider, like, put it in your tracker, reach out to them again, because sometimes there's no opportunities. But I was like, the best location was down the road. It's a 24-hour shopping center. They've got a Kmart that's 24 hours, and I knew that location was going to be perfect. I've always wanted that location. I just reached out. There was no available spaces, no space whatsoever. But I didn't give up, and I kept every month. Any new movements? Anyone leaving? And eventually, an ATM machine left, and so I got a perfect location, and it was to replace an ATM machine. So I had to change my vending machine to the smaller type. But in saying that, as I mentioned, that's my best location, and that's generating between 4,000 to 5,000 a month in sales. And if you guys are curious to know in terms of the profit margins, it depends on the products, because there's so many different products that I sell, but on average around 50% profit margins. And I change things up all the time. Like, you get skilled at it eventually over time, because ideally with a vending machine, you need to know that you want to maximize the space in there as possible, because think of it like a storefront, okay? And you want to make it look as beautiful as possible, regularly, get it filled, don't leave it empty, because I've had a shopping center kick another vending machine operator out because they just barely filled their machines. It was a Barbie and Ken one, but it was always empty. So I was lucky to get that opportunity. And so realize and find the property that you're keen to go for. Make sure you ring up the property managers, or if it's a shopping center, call the front desk and find out who's in charge of the vending machine space. Their name, get their detail, give them a call. And if you can't get in touch with them, make sure you send them an email. And most of the time, I'll ask a proposal. And when you send it the proposal, you should have like that's why they should consider having the vending machine. Because me, I talk about the pros and cons of the collector's market, how it's growing, how it's $1 billion industry, and my vending machine caters to all ages, from young and old, and I've got multiple different card selections from sports, anime, all the different types of anime, and Japanese and English, Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh, etc. So it's then send that to them, and then keep following up. That's one thing that's so crucial, is following up with them as well until you lock it in. And once you lock it in, that's it, you're set. And you need to make sure that you have a filler, okay? Because before you even consider, think long term as well, because think of having, like for me, I have a machine in Queensland, which is another state. It's an hour flight away, but a 10-hour drive. And the reason why I thought of that is because it's a tourist location and there's a small shopping center there. But my sister-in-law lives up there. So I send her stock and she's my filler. Every week I pay her to fill. I send stock. Okay. But have somebody in mind. If you're going to have a vending machine and you want to expand, always have someone in mind that you're going to use. I've got another filler here that she's anime and loves collecting it as well. And she is a close friend of mine that does. She's a mother and she's got a young baby. So she does the filling up for 4 locations further away. So if you're going to have not too far, because like how long it takes as well. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention is when you go into the shopping centers, when suss it out, look at the parking, look at the security, look at the space. Do they have power outlets as well? Because, you know, you might see an awesome, perfect space, but there might not be a power outlet. Okay. Take a photo of it as well, because if you're researching locations, what I do is I take photos and then I use that in the proposal and say, this will be the ideal location. And sometimes you might get it and sometimes you don't. But location is so crucial. I've had a machine in one location in Queens. Actually, I had 2 in Queensland where my sister-in-law is, in the same shopping center. So don't make that mistake either, because they weren't side by side. They were about 200 meters apart, and they were essentially competing against each other. So one machine was in the prime and the other one was like a bit further away, but that was losing me money because I was paying cheaper rent. But if they were side by side, it would be great. But because they were further apart, they were competing. And I was, yeah, like I said, I was losing money. So I had to move that machine. And that's the one that's sitting at the warehouse. So it doesn't matter. Even if, like even if you're in a really busy shopping center, like I've had a machine in a really busy shopping center, but it was in a really terrible, quiet spot. And so I kept on asking center management, please, have you got a new location? This is not performing well. Not giving up, and eventually moved me to a prime location. And with just that small movement alone, I made $3,000 extra a month. So it really, really makes a huge difference on location. And so I highly recommend negotiate and do the research, go there, see where the prime location is, take the photo. Make sure you negotiate the prices as well, because oftentimes the rent in shopping centers is ridiculous. But if you're offering a solution, say I've spoken to other vending machine operators. One guy that I did into my vending machine, he told me he had 50 machines, and he told me, I go, do you? And he said, no. So you don't even, sometimes if you can find a location that has a need, you're offering the service. So you probably don't even have to pay them rent. And I've spoken to other vending machine operators as well that don't rent because they're offering a service. So think about that. Other places might ask you to provide and, you know, like as well, factor in the pros and cons. Like I've worked out my rent versus 10% commission. It'd be better off for me commission. So these are the things that you got to consider when it comes to location and finding the right locations. Yeah, so that's it. But if you guys have any questions, I'd love for you to join my Facebook group as well, which is called Vending Startup Success, or ideally just listen to my podcast and support the channel, because I love talking and learning to entrepreneurs as well. So yeah, that
Linda, you're a rock star. You're on point tonight. I like it. I was just like, man, she's going all the way in right now. Nice. Give it up to Linda. She's a wealth of knowledge. She has a lot of experience in this field. She has a great story, great come up story. Guys, she's doing her official launch for her Facebook group, but she is letting members in right now. So if you guys want like free one-on-one advice from Linda, this is the time to actually take advantage. Is when she has a free community. She's just launching it. She's just getting into digital marketing, guys. But she has so much that she wants to pour into clients and to other people that want to learn specialty vending that she'll be able to help any single one of us, guys. Okay, I learned great stuff on how you can sell Pokemon cards with the vending machines and all that jazz. But I dropped it down here in the comments, guys. So make sure you guys go ahead and join her free group. That way you guys can get more knowledge. And she's doing her official launch next week. Okay, guys. And then down below right there is her Instagram. As you can see right there, Inspired by Success. You can also listen to her badass podcast. I love listening to her podcast, guys. If you guys like to really listen into details of highly successful entrepreneurs, she's interviewing them all day, guys. Okay. But Linda, thank you very much. Have a great day, because I know it's morning time right now in Australia.
Yeah. I forgot to mention, guys, if I could do all these things with my, then you guys can do it, and I can easily guide you. So I'd love to help and pour into you guys. So yes.
So guys, make sure you guys go ahead and follow her free community. It's officially launching next week. I'm going to be there when it launches. I'm super excited. And Linda's going to join me on Instagram Live tomorrow as well. So if you guys want to catch Linda and her story and ask her questions in real time, then Instagram tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific Central Time, guys, on my Instagram Live. Okay. All right, Linda, take care, and I'll talk to you after the live. Okay.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye. Guys, that was so amazing, right? Man, Linda was going in, right? I love that. I love it.